Hello, we hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another esports news episode. We hope you guys all enjoy all of today's stories, which will be timestamped down below as usual. And as always, let's get into it. And first off, of course, in huge CSGO news out there, guys, the Faceit Major does continue. It will conclude this Sunday as we announce our brand new Major Champions, and we've seen some pretty crazy things so far. If you guys did watch matchups, a warning here, spoilers, and matches are going on today as well. It was actually Navi taking down, unfortunately enough, Big Clan in dominating fashion, and I say unfortunately enough because it was actually the most one-sided playoff Major matchup we have ever seen in the history of CSGO, or I believe it was actually tied for a 2014 Major matchup. I think it was actually Fnatic in that game itself, so pretty crazy to see a very one-sided match. It was actually 16-2 on Big's pick, Dust 2, and also 16-6 on Nuke in favor of course, Navi, looking very dominant, of course, led by s1mple and Electronic on that team. And again, it really does raise the question for the future of this big roster. Going into the Major, we already had questions about s1mple staying with this team. It allegedly was not the team itself. It was actually all on s1mple. It was not the team who was going to kick him. It was actually him who might leave on his own. So is this embarrassment? Is this devastating matchup? Of course, they do go top 8, though. They land themselves a legendary spot the next Major no matter what. So will he stick it out with this roster? That's a big question going forward. On top of that as well, to no big surprise out there, the North American matchup, MIBR and Complexity. It was MIBR also 2-0 Complexity, guys. Inferno was a closer matchup, but still nonetheless, MIBR looking pretty dominant throughout that matchup as well. So some huge matchups coming today. On top of that, we actually have Liquid and HR, and also of course Astralis and FaZe Clan. And I do want to say my pick'ems are pretty much ruined at this point. I did pick Big. I picked with my heart of who was going to win that matchup. I told you guys, I warned you guys that Navi was probably going to be the favorite. I never would have predicted, though, of course, that blowout of a matchup. So congrats to Navi, looking very dominant. And if I actually have a chance at the actual gold trophy, I have to get every pick'em right from here on out. That means Liquid has to beat HR, which should be no tough task for them. Also, Astralis needs to beat FaZe, which is definitely going to be a tougher task than I think a lot of us predict. I also predicted Astralis to beat Liquid, and then Astralis to beat Navi in the finals. And the way that Navi's look so far, the way that Liquid looks so far, a bit of a risk. And of course, predicting that and getting all of those predictions right from here on out is going to be a tough task. But of course, talking about s1mple stuff, guys, more roster changes are likely to come soon for CSGO, and by Sunday, guys, we'll have our Faceit Major Champions, and then the whole shuffle will begin. And also, of course, in big Dota 2 news out there, we now have almost all of our quality teams finalized. It's been very cool to see some nice surprises so far. So covering, of course, our recent matchups, guys, out of the EU scene, it's going to be our new NIP squad, that being PPD's new team, guys, making it out just barely alive and actually qualifying for their first Major. Very cool to see them qualify alongside Team Secret as well as Team Alliance. And also, speaking of a few matchups that actually finalized a few days ago, some nice surprises out of the CIS region, not being Virtus Pro, but actually Team Furzy. We talked about that. A very nice upset from the lower bracket. They go undefeated, beating teams like Navi, Windstrike. Alongside them going to be Team Espada and Team Spirit. So very cool to see their kind of upset run there. It'll be interesting to see how they actually do at the Major itself. I'm not going to expect too much, but nonetheless, their miracle run looks very, very cool on paper. Alongside that, out of the Chinese scene, actually very cool to see a brand new team once again. That's Burning's new roster known as Team Aster. They take down Serenity in their best of 3, almost take down LGD in their final best of 3. Nonetheless, they actually qualify out of the Chinese region. So very cool to see that. And also, bouncing back to EU, one big upset was actually Team Liquid. Team Liquid falls short to Team Lithium, unfortunately enough, and they failed to qualify for their first Major for this DPC. So some unsatisfying news over there for Team Liquid. We'll see how they bounce back from that. On top of that, some no big surprises. South America, though, does get 2 spots this time around. It'll be Double Pain Gaming. Both their squads actually dominate those qualifiers, guys, and they make it through. And alongside them will be Team Fnatic, guys, looking very impressive alongside TNC out of the Asia minor. Those will be our final 2 teams going through. Fnatic, though, with, of course, that brand new roster, Ice, and Jabs from Mineski, alongside a new coach looking very dominant, only dropping 1 map their entire run through. And alongside TNC, they'll be our final 2 Asian teams. And very lastly, some subtle surprises there out of North America. EG and, of course, Universe's new team, Forward Gaming, will not be too big of surprises, although it's actually Complexity being knocked out. They definitely had a decent chance here. It's actually March out of the Army who took them down last night in their 2-0 sweep there, and they should be our 3rd North American team going through, and somewhat of a surprise. But if you guys do remember, of course, Complexity currently have a stand-in player Fear in place of Skem, who had Canadian visa issues, and that should be for a few more weeks and for their next few qualifiers. So unfortunate to see a team like Complexity, who in that run-of-the-mill teams over there in North America, definitely had a pretty big chance to actually qualify. But most of our teams have been finalized for the Major, guys. We will see how well they do. PPD NIP is going to make it through over teams like Liquid. Some big surprises so far. We're going to see exactly how these teams play out in our first Major of the DPC circuit. And in very big Fortnite news out there, we have, of course, the Fall Skirmish starting this weekend, guys, with a brand new format being announced, brand new prize pools. It's, of course, going to be $10 million, of course, just over 6 weeks as well. Increased prize pool and a decreased number of weeks. And the brand new format confused a few people out there. So, of course, we now have the addition of clubs coming to this. I think there's a huge debate out there as to the usefulness of these clubs. Of course, we already have organizations, so FaZe Clan, TSM, Cloud9, CLG, so on and so forth, who already have their players. And the addition of clubs to this, and you can only play with members, I do believe so. You can only play with teammates inside your club, which you were selected into. It makes for a different, kind of a, of course, confusing composure for the future of the Fall Skirmish. Do they want this to be organizational based, or of course with these team names? I think it's definitely a cool feature, and I definitely cannot wait to see how it plays out. But it's definitely a weird thing to see out of a sport that's trying to become an esport divide into these cheesy names. So if you guys did know, it's the Fortnites, it's also the Dusty Dogs, the Rift Raiders, the Lucky Llamas, and very lastly the Bush Bandits. So each and every pro player as well as streamer and content creator was actually split into each and every club. There are 5 clubs consisting of 100 players, and here's how the rules do break down. So it's very simple. Here's actually the format for this week's tournament itself. Alongside that, though, more importantly, these clubs will compete for points over the course of the 6 weeks. Now, every single club member can actually compete in these weekly events during the week and actually earn points for their club, but alongside that, only the selected players from each club can actually earn points at the competitive events each week. So at the end of 6 weeks, of course, each club will have their amount of points, and there will be a huge prize pool bonus though for those clubs. Of course, first place 1.5 million, second place 1 million, third place 750k, 500k, and then lastly 250k. So at the very least, with about 100 players for each and every club, no matter how your club does, if you are a part of a club, you come away with 2.5k no matter what. So the breakdown is immense. Obviously $10 million across 6 weeks. The question still has to be asked, are these of course is Epic going to be making money here? And again, I cannot wait to see how it's played out. We still have the grapple, we still have the double barrel combination, so we're going to see how this goes. A bunch of teams out there have been announcing their combination or their duos for this event, and I do believe I'm correct here. Again, you can only pair with players that are actually in your club, even if they're in your organization. So if it's Daquan and Hamlin's, I'm not really sure what clubs they're in right now. The list is still being finalized. They can only play together if they're actually in the same club, which again is a very interesting feature going forward. But I hope you guys all enjoy. The Fall Skirmish does start this weekend. Alongside that, talking about Daquan and Hamlin's, there's a bit of controversy going back and forth if they did receive invites. It was actually Lumen on Twitter who confirmed they both received invites. It was first Hamlin's on stream saying he wasn't invited, he was not going to play this weekend, and then very lastly he did clarify he will be playing this weekend, and he was looking for a partner last time I checked. I'm not really sure about Daquan, but that should clear the air over here. What do you guys think about this? We now have the introduction for the first time ever. Of course, Fortnite still trying to solidify itself as an esports, and they have now split off each and every pro player of an organization into separate clubs, almost dividing the line between organizations and actual teams, which is super strange. And also in some very sad news out there, not too much in League of Legends, of course, as we approach Worlds. We'll talk about that in the very last half of this segment. Unfortunately enough, it's actually LOL King. If you guys do use the statistic website, the build website, it's been around for just over 6 years. It was one of the first websites of its kind, and it is now officially shutting down. Actually come the 28th, in about 8 days here, guys. Unfortunately, it will be no longer updating information on its website, and by mid-October, it will unfortunately be shutting down. They did post that this morning. Unfortunately enough, just not enough funding to keep on going with the services or to actually maintain that website. So it's very sad to see. I know maybe it doesn't affect a lot of you guys out there. I know that many other competing websites like OPGG, I use Mobifier myself. They seem to be a lot faster, a lot more up to date, and just the first thing I find when I search Google. So unfortunately enough, there's plenty of competing sites out there. It's just sad to see an OG site like LOL King go out of business here very shortly. So use it while you can, guys. Support them if you can. I don't think they're going to be bouncing back from this one. But also in some happier news, I know it's sad to see that kind of stuff, but we are now officially by Monday's episode, guys, just 1 week away from Worlds. I cannot wait to see. I really want to know what you guys think down below. Comment down below, what is your favorite team going into this, or what is the team you think has the biggest chance to actually win Worlds? As of right now, from what I've heard and seen so far, I think RNG actually has the best chance, but I would love to see, of course, any North American run possible because, well, it's been a while since we've seen that. But come Monday, guys, we are now 1 week away from League of Legends Worlds. And also in big Overwatch news, guys, the Overwatch World Cup qualifier does continue. Our last stage, the Paris qualifier, does end this weekend. And on top of that, of course, our main stage does start next weekend. Some great competition going to be there. 6 of our 8 teams have been finalized. And throughout this Paris qualifier, it's pretty obvious the UK and France are probably our favorites to go through. Although if it goes like last week at Bangkok, we saw a surprise. The Australians go through. They upset Denmark and Sweden. Although they had a head-to-head loss against Denmark, their 4-0 sweep of Sweden on map differential put them past them. So a pretty good upset there. And again, I always like to see surprise teams go through. I think, of course, the start this morning, what we've seen so far, Germany start out with a loss. It's been tough to see. I think the Netherlands also have a slight chance as well. The UK and France, heavy favorites, but again, I wouldn't mind seeing a surprise team go through as the main stage does start next weekend. On top of that, though, we also have Blizzard released some merch for Genji. For all you Genji fans out there, you can also now own his personal sword for just a mere $200 US. Actually, the video playing on screen for all of you guys, it does look very cool. I love when games do this kind of stuff. Of course, there's some monetary benefit for Blizzard, but it does look very cool, and I'm sure many of you guys will enjoy that kind of stuff. But also stay tuned. Of course, Overwatch League Season number 2 will start here somewhat shortly as we have teams finalizing their rosters. We, of course, have our 8 brand new expansion teams trying to finalize their coaches and their rosters as well. Some big signings are coming soon, guys. A lot of rumors out there right now, but we're going to wait for Monday's episode to confirm some of those. Again, Overwatch World Cup qualifier does end this weekend. We'll have the main stage of that next weekend, and of course, some big rumors coming soon. And also in Rocket League news, of course, we got to talk about RLCS Week 3 does start this weekend, and we are still in our undefeated streak for North America because the picks have not been too hard. I think this week might be a pick of some upsets, though, although not going to be for Cloud9. I think they stay undefeated, and I feel bad for Ghost. I think Ghost coming off some strong performances that did result in a loss or two, that coming to Cloud9 last week in their best of 5, going to map 5, and unfortunately enough, this is going to be their toughest week on the schedule, and they're going to compete against both G2 and NRG, who have both not, of course, lost yet. We still have our 3 undefeated North American teams. I think Ghost, though, can take one of those series. And very lastly, I think the comeback does start for FlyQuest this week. I think still an underrated roster, guys. When you take their rival series statistics out there, definitely an underrated roster who has, of course, played some of the best teams. Of their 3 losses, 2 of them definitely are top teams in North America. I think they can definitely take this series against EG. If they do not, though, they go to 0-4. Their playoff contentions are pretty much done. So FlyQuest, a lot on the line this weekend, and that's going to be it for North America. On top of that, though, of course, the region we see upsets in, that's going to be Europe, guys. And this time around, I'm very excited, though. I want to, of course, call comebacks for teams like FlyQuest. Alongside them, I think Fnatic have a very good chance against teams like WDG this weekend. But we really have yet to see a team take more than one map off Dignitas. I think Dignitas go 2-0 over Flipside and PSG. Alongside them, I can see Vitality also going 2-0, and that does mean, of course, over PSG. I think a close match, though, to Complexity, and that does mean that PSG will go 0-2 this weekend. But again, going to be some great matchups for, of course, RLCS Week 3, guys. We are now almost halfway through the season already, and of course, remember, here in Las Vegas in November, we'll see our World Championships there and our grand finals for this season, number 6, for a $1 million prize pool. That's going to be it, though. We're going to see how our records do stand up. Comment down below your guys' pick'ems. I cannot wait to see who comes out on top. And again, around this week 3 to 5, we're going to see kind of a spread over. Of course, they've only played a few matchups right now, but by week 5, we'll have a more solidified standings. It's still very close for many teams out there. Fnatic need to come back, FlyQuest need to come back, and of course, we have teams like Cloud9 and Dignitas trying to pull away. But as always, I hope you guys all enjoy your episode of Esports News. If you guys did, leave a comment down below. If you like the new format, let us know. And as always, we'll see you guys back here Monday with a very packed episode, and I'll see you then.